We are continuing our search for affordability in Ontario. We're going to look at the east side of Toronto. So we're looking at distances on a commuting from Pickering or Ajax or Whitby, Port Hope, Oshawa. We're looking at these locations. They're relatively commutable just on the east side of Toronto. And we're looking at median income for each of those regions. And again, we're looking at the average house price, calculating a GDS ratio, and creating our own little affordability index to see which community would be more affordable to live in compared to the rest of Ontario, and specifically Toronto. So, starting in order, we're going to look at Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa, Clarington, and Port Hope. Let's look at the populations of each of these places. Pickering is approximately 100,000 people, Ajax 126,000, Whitby is about 139, Oshawa about 175,000, Clarington is 101, and Port Hope is about 17,000. If you count those two together, it's about 120,000 people. And if we look at distances to Toronto, which is interesting, Pickering is only 35 kilometers from Toronto, so it's very close. Ajax is 40, which is just a little bit more north, and Whitby is about 50 kilometers from Toronto. Oshawa is 60 kilometers, and Port Hope, and that's a bit far, and Clarington, we're looking closer to 100 kilometers away. All of these are commutable distances. Perhaps I would say the realistic outer limit would be Oshawa, but that's just me. I wouldn't want to spend more than an hour in the car. Now let's just look at what we're talking about in terms of affordability. So Pickering has a median income of $118,000. Average home price is $975,000. When we do our GDS calculation based on these two statistics and prevailing rates and prevailing housing costs, we get a GDS ratio of 56%. Ajax, median income of $106,000, home price of $850,000. So going that little bit north saves you a tiny bit of money, and we get a GDS ratio of 54%. So slightly better. Whitby, median income is $106,000, home price $980,000, and annual housing cost the GDS ratio is 62%. Whitby is actually getting to be the least affordable of those three. Now let's go to Oshawa, which is the Motor City of the East. Median income is $106,000, average home price about $764,000. The GDS ratio is 49%. A little bit more affordable. When you look at Clarington, that seems to jump a little bit. We have a median income of about $104,000, but the housing price is around $834,000. So we're getting a GDS ratio of around 52%. If we jump further east, and I would say this is the furthest east commute you could look at, let's look at Port Hope. Median income drops to $90,000. Home price also drops, $650,000, but the GDS ratio is around 49%. So when you compare that to Oshawa, which is a little bit closer, I guess maybe one community you could argue is nicer than the other, I don't know, but it's not really any more affordable than Oshawa. So the overall affordability of the east side of Toronto is actually not bad in comparison to anything west and north of Toronto. It's actually relatively affordable. I think you'd be driving out to Guelph before you'd find something on the west side that would be close to this. So it appears that the east side of Toronto is where it's at if you want to have a commutable distance to Toronto and you want to have a relatively affordable, and albeit still expensive, place to live.